At 84 years old, Sir Cliff Richard stands as one of the most quietly extraordinary figures in modern entertainment, not because he refuses to let go of the past, but because he continues to live with a kind of vitality and grace that feels almost uncommon in any era. Seeing him today can be surprising for those who remember the fresh-faced young performer who first burst onto the British music scene in the late 1950s, because time seems to have moved around him in a gentler way. His posture remains upright, his expression warm and alert, and his presence carries none of the heaviness of someone lingering in faded glory. Instead, Cliff appears fully engaged with life, still curious, still purposeful, and unmistakably himself, reminding the world that longevity is not simply about surviving the years, but about continuing to meet them with openness and dignity. The boy who helped shape British pop long before knighthoods, lifetime awards, and decades of acclaim, Cliff Richard was simply a young man with a guitar, a voice, and an instinct for melody that would soon transform British popular music. When songs like Move It and Living Doll first hit the airwaves, they didn't just chart well, they signalled a cultural shift. Britain had found its own pop idol, someone who could stand alongside the rising rock and roll voices across the Atlantic while still sounding distinctly homegrown. Cliff's appeal was never only about the music. There was a sincerity to him, an innocence that resonated with young audiences and unsettled older generations just enough to make it thrilling. He wasn't rebelling for rebellion's sake. He was offering something fresh, energetic, and hopeful, and that sense of brightness became a defining part of his identity. Staying grounded while fame accelerated. As success arrived quickly, Cliff faced the challenge that has undone so many artists: how to remain grounded when the world insists on placing you on a pedestal. For him, the answer was never excess. While others chased indulgence as proof of success, Cliff quietly chose discipline. He respected his craft, maintained routines, and leaned into values that kept him centered. Fame became something he managed rather than something that managed him, and that decision, made early and repeated often, shaped not only his career longevity but also the way he aged, physically and emotionally. His life became an example of how staying steady can be more powerful than chasing extremes. A career built on adaptation, not desperation. One of the most impressive and least discussed aspects of Cliff Richard's journey is his ability to evolve without abandoning who he is. Decade after decade, as musical trends shifted and audiences changed, he adapted thoughtfully. He explored new sounds, collaborated with different producers, and adjusted his public image without chasing relevance for its own sake. Reinvention for Cliff was never about erasing the past, but about staying honest in the present. That ability to grow while remaining recognizable is rare, and it explains why he has continued to find listeners across generations, not as a novelty act, but as a respected artist whose work still carries meaning. Aging in the public eye with composure. Aging is complicated for anyone, but aging in the public eye adds an entirely different layer of scrutiny. For Cliff Richard, every appearance becomes a reference point, every photograph a conversation. Yet he has never tried to outrun time or deny it. Instead, he meets it with composure. He dresses well, carries himself with confidence, and understands that presentation is not about pretending to be young, but about respecting oneself at every stage of life. His appearance today reflects consistency rather than illusion, the result of habits maintained quietly over decades rather than sudden attempts to reverse the clock. Health as a lifelong conversation. Cliff has often spoken about health not as a quick fix, but as a lifelong conversation with the body. He avoids extremes, favours moderation, and listens carefully to what his body needs as it changes. Regular movement, mindful eating, and rest are treated not as obligations, but as acts of self-respect. There is no dramatic promise or secret formula in his approach, just an understanding that small, steady choices compound over time. That perspective, more than any single habit, seems to be at the heart of his sustained vitality, proving that wellness is built slowly, patiently, and intentionally. Faith as an anchor through every season. Beyond physical discipline, Cliff Richard's faith has played a defining role in how he navigates both success and hardship. His spirituality is not performative or imposed. It is personal, steady, and deeply integrated into his daily life. Faith provides him with perspective, reminding him that identity does not begin or end with applause. It offers resilience during challenges and humility during triumphs. For Cliff, belief is not about retreating from the world, but about engaging with it thoughtfully, guided by values that prioritize compassion, gratitude, and responsibility. The voice that still carries emotion. One of the most striking elements of Cliff Richard's continued presence is the clarity and control of his voice. While time inevitably alters tone and range, his command of phrasing and emotion remains intact. He understands his instrument, respects its limits, and works within them rather than against them. This maturity as a vocalist allows his performances to feel intimate and assured rather than strained. Listening to him sing today is not simply an exercise in nostalgia. It is a reminder that artistry deepens when technique meets experience, and that emotion can grow richer with time, refusing to fade, yet never clinging. In an industry that often encourages older artists to step aside, Cliff Richard has chosen a different path. He has never framed his career around a dramatic farewell, nor has he clung desperately to the spotlight. Instead, he appears when he has something to share and steps back when he doesn't. This balance gives his continued work authenticity. Audiences sense that he is there because he wants to be, not because he fears absence, and that choice alone lends his appearances dignity and purpose. Public moments that feel genuinely alive. When Cliff appears in interviews, charity events, or occasional performances, reactions are often immediate and heartfelt. People don't just comment on how well he looks, they remark on how present he feels. His posture, eye contact, and attentiveness suggests someone engaged with the moment rather than distracted by legacy. These appearances inspire admiration, not because he seems ageless, but because he seems comfortable with his age, carrying it with pride instead of apology, reminding others that aging can be lived with confidence rather than fear. Quiet strength through personal challenges. Like anyone who has lived a long and public life, Cliff Richard has faced moments of difficulty that tested his resilience. Rather than allowing these experiences to harden him, he has consistently chosen a path of restraint and grace. He speaks carefully, avoids bitterness, and focuses on moving forward rather than revisiting pain endlessly. This approach does not minimize hardship, it reframes it. Challenges become chapters, not conclusions, and that mindset has allowed him to preserve both his peace and his integrity. A relationship with fans built over decades. Cliff's bond with his audience has matured alongside him. What began as teenage adoration has evolved into mutual respect. Fans who grew up with his music now see their own journeys reflected in his. He does not talk down to them or trade solely on nostalgia. Instead, he acknowledges the shared passage of time, the memories created together, and the gratitude that flows both ways. This relationship, built steadily over decades, is one of the most enduring and beautiful elements of his career, redefining, what aging can look like. In a culture that often equates aging with decline, Cliff Richard offers a counter-narrative. He shows that aging can be an expansion rather than a contraction, a stage where clarity replaces urgency and purpose replaces pressure. His life suggests that vitality is not measured only in physical metrics, but in curiosity, discipline, and emotional openness. Watching him today encourages a broader understanding of what it means to grow older, one rooted in dignity rather than fear. The wisdom of restraint and saying. No one of the unseen reasons behind Cliff Richard's longevity is his willingness to say no. No to excess, no to burnout, no to opportunities that don't align with his values. This selective approach has protected both his health and his enthusiasm. By choosing carefully where to invest his energy, he has preserved the joy that first drew him to music. In a world that rewards constant output, restraint becomes a form of wisdom, and Cliff embodies that wisdom quietly. Still standing, still moving forward. At 84, Cliff Richard is not standing still. He remains open to creativity, connection, and contribution. Whether through music, conversation, or quiet presence, he continues to engage with the world on his own terms. His life reminds us that purpose does not expire and that growth does not stop at a certain age. It simply changes form. His light has not dimmed with time, it has softened, deepened, and spread outward. Where once it dazzled, now it steadies. Where once it thrilled, now it reassures. In an era obsessed with youth, Cliff offers something far more valuable. Proof that aging, when met with care, discipline, and self-respect, can become a stage of quiet brilliance.